Hello everyone, got a few dirty jokes for you today. So during the Great Klondike Gold Rush, miners flocked from all over, seeking their fortune. One winter's evening, at the town's tavern, while a blizzard was howling outside, the front door slammed open and a giant bear of a man stomped in. Shaking the snow and ice off of the bear's skin coat he wore and brushing ice out of his massive beard, the mountain man stomped up to the bar. Pulling a gold nugget the size of a marble out of a pouch, he slammed it down on the bar and growled to the barman, "I've been up in them there hills alone for 3 months. I need 2 bottles of beer and the roughest, toughest, meanest streetwalker you have in these parts." The barman doesn't even blink as he scoops up the nugget and plunks down 2 unopened bottles of beer and replies, "That'll be Agatha. She's upstairs, down the hall, last door on the right." The big man stomps across the room, up the stairs, down the hall, and kicks open the last door. Looking at the woman sitting on the bed, he says, "I'm told you're the roughest, toughest, meanest streetwalker around here." The woman, who is almost a match for him in size, with arms almost as big as his and sun-weathered skin you could strike a match on, growls back, in a voice as rough as his, "You heard right. That's me." Standing up, she walks over to him, then turns around and bends over. The miner snorts and asks, "What in the hell makes you think I want that position first?" Agatha looks over her shoulder and replies, "Nothing. But I figured you'd want to open those beers before we got started." So a man wakes up hungover with no memory of coming home. He realizes he's fully clothed in bed. He sees one of the lamps on a bedside table is broken, and he smells like he was sick on himself. He sits up and sees muddy tracks leading to his bed. The man groans and holds his head, knowing he's going to be in big trouble with his wife. She then enters the bedroom with a glass of water and some aspirin. "Here, sweetie, you probably need this," she says, handing it to him. "Sounds like you had a fun night. When you feel like it, I have your favorite breakfast in the kitchen. You can lay back down and I'll bring it to you in bed. I had my mom pick up the kids so you can have some peace and quiet, and after you clean up and feel better, I was thinking we could fool around and I'll do that thing for you that you like." The man is baffled that she is being so nice to him. Suspicious, he asks what happened last night. "Around 2 a.m. I was woke up by you trying to unlock the door. I let you in and you staggered right past me and collapsed in the bed after knocking over the lamp," she says. "I was mad, but I figured I should try to undress you. Then you yelled at me. I'm so sorry, honey. What did I say? Get your hands off of me, lady. I'm married." So 3 men, an American, a Japanese, and an Irishman, were sitting naked in a sauna. Suddenly there was a beeping sound. The American pressed his forearm and the beep stopped. The others looked at him questioningly. "That was my pager," he said. "I have a microchip under the skin of my arm." A few minutes later a phone rang. The Japanese fellow lifted his palm to his ear. When he finished, he explained, "That was my mobile phone. I have a microchip in my hand." The Irishman felt decidedly low-tech and, not wanting to be outdone, he decided he had to do something just as impressive. He stepped out of the sauna and went to the bathroom. He returned with a piece of toilet paper hanging from his behind. The others raised their eyebrows and stared at him in bewilderment. "It appears that you've got a bit of a stuck paper problem there," pointed the amused American. "Well, of course." The Irishman was quick to respond. "I must be getting a fax." So a man is looking for a long-lost treasure and comes across an old witch. He says, "I'm looking for the treasure of the hidden sea." Do you know where to find it? She smiles and says, I do. But there is a price to pay if you do. I'll pay anything, the man says, knowing that he's been looking for this treasure for 3 decades. Just tell me how to get there. He pulls out his wallet, but the witch puts his hand on his. Not with money, she says softly as she pushes his money back into his wallet. You'll find out in time. First, you have to go and catch a carp from the river. When you have the biggest one, come back. The man goes to the river and catches fish after fish until he catches a carp twice the size of the others. This must be it. He lets all the others go and carries it to the witch. She lets out a squeal of excitement. Excellent, she says. Now that you have the fish, you'll have to go to the tunnel in the mountain. If you drag the carp by the tail to the other side and then come straight back, it opens a secret path and you'll be able to find the treasure of the hidden sea. He grabs the fish and carries it off to the mountain with the tunnel. On the way, he sees a man who stops him. Oh, don't bring that there. That mountain is cursed. If you bring that fish through there, you will be cursed forever. I need to find the treasure, the first man says. It's my destiny. I would not advise it, the other man says. The tunnel will curse you forever. He gets to the tunnel and puts the fish down. He grabs it by the tail and drags it through the tunnel. It takes hours upon hours to walk through, and just as he thinks he's about to collapse, he makes it to the other side. Do not drag that carp back through the tunnel, a man says, running up to him. This tunnel is cursed and the fish will complete it. I have to, this is my destiny, the man says. He continues back through, and as he approaches the far side of the tunnel, he thinks he's hallucinating from fatigue as the pathway in front of him transforms and he sees the forest turn to ocean before his very eyes. He walks faster and faster and he comes out the other side sprinting to the treasure chest before him. Piles and piles of gold are before his eyes. I'm going to be the richest man in the world. He reaches down and tries to pick up a small coin to examine, but cries out in agony as a pain shoots through his hands. He tries again, but he can't close his hand around it tight enough. Every time he screams out as he's unable to clasp a single piece of treasure. Poof, the witch appears behind him. What have you done to me? The man begs. What have you done? She smirks. You will now suffer from carp pull tunnel. A priest appears at the gate to hell. Surprised, because priests were rare in hell, a demon gets curious and jumps into the priest's path. How'd you die? He thunders at him. The priest replied, I had a heart attack. Demon, all right, what happened? Priest, someone broke my windows, popped the tire on my Harley, and stole all my tools out of my shed. Demon, well, that'd give some a heart attack, all right. But you're a priest. Why are you in hell? The priest replied, well, I was receiving confessionals when a boy walked in and said, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I asked what he did. He said I broke someone's windows, popped a tire on his Harley, and stole all his tools. I had a heart attack while I was wringing that little bastard's neck. So a drunk staggers out of a bar and runs into 2 priests. He goes over to the first priest and says, hey, I'm Jesus Christ. The priest says, no, son, you're not. So the drunk goes over to the second priest and says, man, I'm Jesus Christ. The priest says, no, son, I'm afraid you're not. Finally, the drunk gets fed up and says, here, I'll prove it. He saunters back into the bar with both priests. As he comes in, the bartender looks up, sees the drunk and groans, oh Jesus Christ, you're back again. My wife and I were sitting at a table at my high school reunion, and I kept staring at a drunken lady swigging her drink as she sat alone at a nearby table. My wife asked, "Do you know her?" "Yes," I sighed. "She's my old girlfriend." I understand she took to drinking right after we split up those many years ago, and I hear she hasn't been sober since. My God, says my wife, who would think that a person could go on celebrating that long? Saturday morning I got up early, quietly dressed, made my lunch, grabbed the dog, and slipped quietly into the garage. I hooked up the boat to the truck and proceeded to back out into a torrential downpour. The wind was blowing at 50 miles per hour, so I pulled back into the garage, turned on the radio, and discovered that the weather would be bad all day. I went back into the house, quietly undressed, and slipped back into bed. I cuddled up to my wife's back, now with a different anticipation, and whispered, "The weather out there is terrible." My loving wife of 10 years replied, "Can you believe my stupid husband is out fishing in that?"